Okay, I greet you. Welcome one more time to another program in the series, Homo Politicus, in which we interrogate issues uh, thrown up by our environment. Today, Israel Hamas crisis, Iran intrudes. Anti Semitism means a morbid hostility and, if you like, pathological hatred for Jewish people. Now, the hellish sentiment gained traction in the Hitlerite years, 1933 to 1945, especially during World War II, when the Holocaust exterminated 6 million plus Jews, men, women, and children inclusive, all this in gas chambers. Israel, I must remind us, was born in crisis, has lived in crisis, and has survived in crisis. Can we ever forget the Six-Day War of June 1967, when Israel trounced a coalition of Arab states, including Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon? The Arab does not forget either, if it ever does. When, on October 7, 2023, Hamas attacked Israel, the backlash was going to take more than a heavy toll. Today, Iran has interfered in the fray. Israel has vowed to exert an appropriate price for revenge. Are we on the brink in the Middle East? Shall we have a conversation, please? Our man is here, the ever-dependable Cyril Abaku, broadcaster, communications expert. Cyril, I welcome you one more time.
Thank you, Citizen Jones.
The subject is germane. The Arab-Israeli conflict is as old as one can remember.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, on the night Israel was granted a being, that's
Yes.
on May 15, 1948.
Yes.
That night, while the Israelis were reveling in a new
Homeland.
it survived the crisis.
It did. It did. And indeed, Israel sees itself as a nation living on its toes. Yes, they've always had that character. As a matter of fact, Israel had to organize for self-defense, organize for survival, organize for self-determination before it even organized itself into a state. So groups like the Institute, which the world innocuously refers to as the Mossad, predates Israel itself as a state. The formation of the Knesset and so on. The likes of David, Ben-Gurion, and even those who came before.
The first prime minister.
And other prominent Jewish leaders who literally gave their lives for the birth of what today is, casually just referred to as the state of Israel. But of course, if the very circumstances leading to the birth of Israel, it sort of gave the impression or gave the context in which its neighbors were going to try to snuff it out. That Israel itself has survived.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle that even atheists won't be able to. I mean, you go back in history, after the first Arab-Jewish war, you come, let's even bring it quickly up all the way to 1967, when we have UTAN as the section of the United Nations. When Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt was saber-rattling and talking very loudly that the UN should pull out its troops in the strip. Yes, and that they
from the Golan Heights.
from the Golan Heights, and that they were going to finish off this whole matter. UTAN, he was a very conservative, unsuspecting person. So he said, "Well, if this is a price for peace, let's go away." After all, keeping the blue berets in that place was costing the UN some money. They moved out. Then Gamal Abdel Nasser moves in to mobilize his brothers, who, by the way, were to become the United Arab Republic, including Syria and Jordan and so on. Syria, Jordan, Egypt all came together, and wanted to take out Israel.
Yeah.
Little did they know.
Okay. Yeah.
Little did they know that the little ant they were about to snuff life out of was smarter, faster.
Than they thought. Than they thought.
Within minutes, that army became too powerful for them to contend with.
And
on the morning of the conflict alone,
yes,
400 Egyptian Air Force aircraft
were immobilized.
Gamal Abdel Nasser was so ashamed of his defeat. He hid it and began to push the Jordanians and the Syrians to continue the war. Only
but look at the map in your mind's eye.
Yes.
Israel is surrounded by enemies.
Yes.
That is, it has survived 70, how many years? 75, 76 years.
Yes.
It's a huge miracle, as I said.
It is more than a miracle. Look, in 1980, people shouldn't forget these things. Because you have to, okay, let's come to 73. Yom Kippur. It was the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur that Hamas targeted to show Israel that it could fire in rock. But let's even put it on the record. I, for one, as a keen follower of global events, I do not believe that Hamas alone they did not do that. Hamas, yes.
The suspicion was there that Iran was there.
And that even Iran relied on another superpower. Because you see, this same Iran has fired more than 300 missiles into Israel, and 99% of those missiles have been intercepted.
Yes.
How are they able to beat Israel's Iron Dome from Palestinian territory? Tells you that even that one that Hamas did was perhaps with the tacit backing of Iran, but that it wasn't Iran acting alone. Another state actor was behind Iran.
Now, but let's go back to last year, 2023.
Yes, November.
October 7th.
Oh, yeah.
Hamas started the current war.
Yes.
Did it not know the backlash?
Frankly speaking,
or it didn't matter to them?
I honestly don't know. Well, so in a way, because I mean, I'm not an Israeli, neither do I live in the Gaza Strip or any part of either Israel or Palestine. But what I can tell you is that from a vicarious point of view, I think that to an extent, the Hamas, not Palestine, but Hamas, which is the terror group operating out of Palestine, right? Sponsored by Iran. Just like the Hezbollah in Lebanon is sponsored by Iran.
Yeah.
Okay? So I suspect that Hamas would have said, to borrow your own words, quoting Zebediah, if I have seen 99,
will be 100.
What is 100?
Yes, let it come.
Let it come. I think that's what they did. If we can poke Israel in the face for once, let's do it and then wait for the count. Even if it was 90, because all this will little be 7-0, 20-0, 200-0, 8,000-0. But if we can even put Israel on the defensive for once, I think that's what they did. Even if they may not have bargained for as much as what really happened. You see, the thing is, like I always see, people are saying Israel is enough. We saw the pictures. I'm not happy that people died the way they died in Gaza. One. Number two, Citizen Jones, I'm a Christian. I'm a born-again Christian. And I know that by the odds, there are arguably more Christians in Palestine than you'll even find in Israel. In Israel, there are more
Arabs, more Muslims.
Atheists, and even, Judaists. That's the core of the Israeli consciousness. They are most so when Christians even go to Israel to do pilgrimage, they're like, what are guys coming to do?
What's the relevance?
That's the way the Israeli views.
And let me throw this in. Jesus the Christ in the Bible was born at Bethlehem. Bethlehem is
in Judea. In Judea. It is from Judea.
In today's Palestine.
Yes, but at the time he was born, it was Israel. Because it is from the word Judah that you have the word Jews, which is today's Israel. And by the way, I mean, just to lay out a thorough premise, there are two types of, what's it called, captivity that Israel went into. The 10 tribes went into, I think, Assyrian captivity. The other two, Judah and his brother, went elsewhere. The whole of the return to Israel, the 10 tribes are lost. What we have to do are just the Judah and so it's even from there that you have the word Jews. So when we talk about Jewry, really we're talking about Judah.
Yeah.
So, but let's come back to the matter on the table. I'm as a student of international relations, like I was saying, I'm Christian, and I feel for my Christian brethren in Palestine. Okay? But the fact is that when you slap or kick a rival or an enemy, you cannot now dictate to that enemy how he should retaliate.
Yes.
Especially in international affairs where there are neither friends nor foes, only allies and interests. So if, like I said, if indeed my prognosis is correct, that Iran is known to be a sponsor and supporter of Hamas.
Yes.
And that Iran alone didn't have the technology.
And for that matter, sponsor of aggression towards Israel.
No, so let's even put the record straight. Hamas does not believe in the right of Israel to exist as a state.
Yes.
These are known facts in international affairs.
For Israelis to live.
Exactly. In fact, they said Israel is a cancerous tumor that must be cut off and destroyed. This was what the Ayatollah said.
Yeah. And even the man before Ayatollah, Adolf Hitler.
So, good. Now, in fact, the Benjamin Netanyahu will tell you that Hitler had no problem with the Jews until, I can't pick this man's name, but a prominent Arab leader went and told Hitler that he will support him if only he will help him to exterminate
the
Jews. And as at then, there was no Jewish homeland. What was available then was international Jewry. Jews in Poland, Jews in the Soviet, particularly the Soviet countries, in Germany, Jews across Europe and even America.
Yeah.
So Netanyahu said, this is Netanyahu's claims. I cannot, of my own personal scholarship, endorse. But Netanyahu said that even the Holocaust was inspired and sponsored by the encouragement and motivation
of the
Arabs gave to Adolf Hitler. Now, so these are facts on the table. Israel, a nation feeling sufficiently threatened, okay, will want to exact its own pound of flesh as much as it feels it ought to. And see the point I've been making since Citizen Jones. That even Iran, as the chief sponsor of Hamas, did not have everything it took or it would have taken to beat Israel's Iron Dome.
Yeah.
And so there was a third party, or a fourth party if you like, a fourth international power, a real superpower, that fed Iran the capacity which it now probably supplied to Hamas, which Hamas used to beat the Israeli Iron Dome.
Yeah.
So when you see Israel pushing and pushing and pushing, it is not so much about fighting to gain any territory in Palestine. They are sending a message to the person that supported Iran.
The Batman.
Yes, to support Hamas. To say that, look, we are for peace. But if you come for war, you'll get more than what you bargain for.
We no go wrong.
Yes, I think that with responses like this, anybody trying to take on Israel will be more than ready to take on Israel. Now, yes.
So when Israel says we are exacting an appropriate revenge, what do you think it means?
Well,
appropriate revenge.
it will come. Did you hear that in out of all the 300 or so missiles that were fired on Israel,
missiles and drones,
ballistic and so, I'm not sure, including cruise missiles. I'm not sure anybody.
I heard only a 6 or 8 year old girl got injured somewhere.
Yeah, so nobody even died. Nobody died. I think that the most important thing Israel will do to Iran is to ground their nuclear program. Now it will come. You
remember what Israel did years ago?
Iraq, exactly, yes. I was going to go there. 1984, thereabout. Reagan was still president of America, and even America didn't see it coming. France sold a nuclear reactor to Iraq. George Bull, the great scientist, was helping Saddam Hussein to design weapons and so on. That one was assassinated with five bullets in his belly because of his size. Normally it's 2 they use, but his size required 5. Required 5. Let me take that out of the way.
Yeah.
And when the Mossad, when Israel saw that they couldn't help it, they said, okay, let France sell the nuclear reactors to Iraq. And Iraq was about to shame Israel on a day that resonated with when Babylon.
Is that when Iraq was developing the big gun, the so-called
No, the big gun was what George Bull, the scientist, helped them to design.
Okay.
George Bull was one not to continue the project. He refused. So in his hotel room, he was assassinated. 5 bullets in his. You know, he had a plumb figure.
Yeah.
So they gave him 5. Normally they will use 2, but they gave him 5. Now, now coming back to the nuclear reactor issue, it was one Sunday morning. The whole world woke up to see that it was precision. Israel just summoned all their pilots to come to return to Air Force base immediately. They didn't know what it was for. A historian told me that Israeli pilots flew wing to wing. Wing to wing, wing to wing. All the planes left the same time. They didn't see them coming. The next thing they saw was on the reactor, and they disappeared. There was nothing anybody could do about it. During the 6-day war, you know, the whole world knelt down to beg Israel and to say, please,
you don't do.
You don't do. During Yom Kippur, Israel was initially pushed back. When they retaliated, nobody could believe it. Now, so this thing is, I mean, we've something tells me that we've been here before.
All right, Cyril, because we are hard pressed for time, do you think we are on the brink in the Middle East? Because the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, is asking for a de-escalation of the Wahala.
So let's put a background to this, to the immediate issue, right? Hamas attacks Israel October 7. Israel retaliates. That's a separate issue. Sometime last month, I think, or was it? No, it was last month. There was an airstrike on the Iranian facility, consulate in Syria.
Yeah.
The Iranians
deliberately.
Of course. The Iranians have blamed Israel for the strike. Israel didn't say they undertook the strike. So, well, I don't know whether we can now say Israel was the one who undertook that strike. But I think what I had some Israelis saying was that the facility was being used for other purposes other than that, was being used for military and defense, whatever, which Israel would normally consider to be a threat to its own existence. So those strikes came. But Israel has not said that they had also struck that place. Now, Iran has attacked or retaliated, whichever suits the discussion, I don't know. But Israel says that now Iran has attacked us first. So we are going to retaliate. My personal conjecture is that
Iran is saying, for instance, that as the Iranian strike was just to tell Israel, please be mindful of, was just a warning.
Okay. So yeah, Israel will respond to say, we have had your warning. So that's what.
So we're on the brink.
The Middle East has always been a tinderbox on a good day. So much more.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. But my consolation is that often the worst does not come. You see, we are talking at a time when the Arabs, the leaders of the Arab world, like Saudi Arabia, was seeking normalization with Israel. All right? And it was about to happen. Qatar, for example, Dubai, so we had also normalized relations with Israel. The attack that happened was to set that thing back.
Yeah.
To say Israel cannot even defend itself. Why do you think they can cover you? That was what the enemies of the normalization process between the Saudis and Israel and Qatar and Israel were seeking to do. But we wait to see how that plays out. But for what it is worth, it is good that America came to Israel's
America
rescue.
Is saying our defense of Israel is
ironclad.
Ironclad.
Yes, but that they were not going to take part in any offensive operations.
Yeah.
We don't know. The dynamics remain fluid. Israel is biding this time. I believe that they will find when they find the chink in the armor and then they will strike. I will see what then we can see what happens.
All right. I think we'll halt the discussion here, but not before telling you that in the Middle East, anything is possible insofar as it involves Israel. Israel, you must understand, lives amongst wolves, enemies, left, right, center. So, as far as Syria is concerned, the coming days are very important, and anything can happen. So we'll watch and wait. But Cyril, Abako, many thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Our job here is done. Until the next time, it's Citizen Jones Hussein saying thank you and have a pleasant time. Bye-bye now.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.